Hey, how's it going, you guys? This is Pet Platypus here. I'm going to be doing my spoiler-filled review of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Wanted to get this done a few days ago, didn't really have the time, and now it's been a full week since the movie came out, so I think this is the best time to do it anyway. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but because I can be long-winded sometimes, but we'll see. If it's too long, I'll probably take each thing I talk about and kind of separate it. Like right now I'm going to talk about villains, then I'm going to talk about something else, and then I'll probably put like little like annotations or whatever so you can just skip around if it's like a really long video. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about the villains of the movie. I guess we'll start with the main villain, which is Electro. Very, very well done, like I said in my review. I guess I'll go a little bit more in depth from there. A lot of people thought that Electro's motivation was kind of poor because it's like, oh, what, Spider-Man just forgot his name and now he's gonna kill him? It's like, well, yeah, that would be pretty poor motivation, except for the fact that Max Dillon's clearly a psychopath. Like, not a psychopath, that's probably the wrong word, but he's clearly not a mentally healthy person. He can function in society, but like I said in my review, he is not a healthy person when it comes to his mind. He's having conversations with Spider-Man like he's his best friend. Oh, you baked me a cake and all that crap. It's like, no, 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 no. Forgetting this dude's name could be the worst thing you could ever do in your life, because when you're dealing with a crazy person, you don't know what they're going to do, and I thought they portrayed that very well, because it wasn't just he forgot his name. When they were in Times Square, and he was talking to him, and everything was cool, and then he touched that water, he got electrically charged, and the sniper took that shot, he thought Spider-Man set him up to be killed, which is not the case, but remember, crazy, so he took it like that, and it makes sense. I thought the way they did Electro made perfect sense. Mentally unhealthy person, already, you know, he's already mentally unhealthy, gets electrical, he becomes an electrical man. That could make somebody who is mentally healthy crazy. So for someone who's already crazy, you could just imagine, like, the way he ended up makes perfect sense from that perspective. Yeah, Electro, and I thought the deep voice that Jamie Foxx did might get a little cheesy for Electro, but it actually ended up working really well. Some of his dialogue was a little, you know, like he's talking about birthday candles and shit. That was a little too much, but like I said in my review, it never went too cheesy. It always felt nice and comic booky. That one line, you know, one throwaway line in the entire movie, come on, really. What else? His powers were cool. He looked great. He had this very nice, you know, electricity going through him. What he could see all the electricity. Very, very, very nice. I love seeing, and his theme, which was great, the song that they played whenever he was there. One of the only really good things one of the only good tracks in the soundtrack. I don't know, I can't talk, I guess. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, because I didn't mention it in my review, and I probably should have. The music is not the greatest. It's not bad music. It works while you're watching the movie, but it's not that memorable, and I thought the track that James Horner made for the first movie was much better, and this was Hans Zimmer, so he really dropped the ball making this track, because, I mean, I don't know if he was just phoning it in or what, but he just didn't care, because this is not one of his better tracks. Better OSTs, whatever you want to call it. What else? Is that it for Electro? Yeah, I guess. I mean, you know, he might have died at the end, might not have. Probably didn't. You know, we'll see. I guess we'll move on to the Green Goblin and Harry Osborn, because that's another thing that people have to keep in mind, is people say, the Green Goblin was only in this movie for like 5 minutes. No, he wasn't. Harry Osborn is the Green Goblin. They're the same person. And Harry Osborn was in the movie almost from the beginning. He was just developing into a villain toward, you know, throughout the film. He was dying, wanted Spider-Man's blood. Spider-Man wouldn't give it to him. He got desperate. He got impatient, which all fits to his personality because he likes to throw money at stuff. He says he doesn't like complicated things. So getting impatient and getting desperate made sense. Him taking that Spider-Venom was completely understandable for his character, just like Electro. which I also said in my review, how all the characters have a very identifiable backstory and everything, and how they get to where they are. And yeah, then he becomes the Green Goblin, officially, you could say, and then he fights Peter at the end, kills Gwen, and all I have to say is one of the best introductions to a villain in a franchise ever. Ever. I mean, come on. In a comic book franchise specifically, not in any film, but in a comic book movie, this is one of the best ways that you can introduce a villain, period. I mean, he's throughout the entire film, you see him develop to that point. Everything he did was completely identifiable. He has a nice design. Everything he did makes sense. And then at the very end, he kills the main love interest, which is very rarely done in a superhero movie. And you know he's going to come back later. I mean, that's just a perfect way to introduce a character to me. I mean, you want villains to have a high level of threat. And killing off someone that important to the story gives a villain a high level of threat. Excuse me. You know, people like 'cause in Iron Man 3 and in Thor, you know, they could have killed the love interest, but they didn't. And I'm not saying they needed to. I'm not saying they should have died, but they put them in this like peril where it's like they could die, but oh, they didn't. And fucking Sony over here, they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's fucking kill off Gwen Stacy. I mean, you know, that to me takes a lot of fucking guts because she was pretty popular in these movies. But, you know, Green Goblin, I mean, just not like the greatest portrayal of him ever, I guess. I mean, we didn't see much of him. It was just an introduction. You got the feel for, you know, some of the stuff he's going to do. It wasn't like a full-blown movie based around him. But we'll get more of that later. We'll get more of his, you know, pumpkin bombs and everything. I mean, and no matter what, I mean, I knew this fucking Green Goblin was going to be better than the one from the old movies. Because the one from the old movies was terrible. Horrible. And Willem Dafoe played him. And that's what makes it even sadder. Because he's a great actor. And he still gave a shitty performance in what I consider to be a very bad movie. Oh, man. I knew this Green Goblin was going to be better. I didn't expect it to be this much better, though. I thought if they shoehorned him in at the end, you know. But what they did with Harry in the beginning and everything, it's all, you know, good. I suppose the only two other villains to talk about, one not really a villain, but Norman Osborn. You know why I'd put him in this category. They claim he dies in this movie. I do not buy that at all. I think he's alive. No, I know he's alive because at the after credit scene that they cut from the movie, I'll talk about that later. Norman Osborn in this movie, he's whatever. You know, he's fine. There's not much to say, really. They say he died. He obviously didn't. Then you have Rhino. And what I like about Rhino, what I've kind of realized while I was trying to record I tried to record a spoiler talk around like Wednesday, and I got cut off and had to do stuff. What I realized while making that spoiler talk was that Rhino, it's kind of cool how in the beginning of the movie, it's just Paul Giamatti's character and Spider-Man beats him. And like, oh yeah, he's been fighting crooks. That's Spider-Man's job right now. You know, he fights crooks. But by the end of the movie, you're fighting the same guy, but now he's in a giant rhino suit with like missiles and shit. And it just kind of shows the contrast of where Spider-Man began in this movie and where he's ending up. He's not fighting the petty crooks anymore. Now he's fighting the super villains, like, big time. I mean, you know, he fought the Lizard. Then it was like petty crook, car thief, all this stuff. Now he's consistently going to be fighting supervillains. And that's a very good evolution to show, using Paul Giamatti at the beginning and Paul Giamatti at the end. I really like it. It's a nice evolution, and I thought the Rhino suit looked cool overall. I think they used him very properly. Take a guy that Spider-Man humiliated, put him in a badass suit, and he goes out for revenge, all while working for Oscorp as they want to build a team, a Sinister Six. Very, very nice. I'm guessing they're going to send a couple dudes out, like Rhino, someone else, then they're going to be like, this isn't working, we got to do all of them together. That would be really badass. And that'll be probably the Sinister Six movie. So yeah, that's the villains. So I probably spent way too much time on that. Started talking about Gwen Stacy's death, and it was, you know, whatever. No, the death wasn't whatever. The death was amazing. That was very, very good. But you know what I mean. now I guess I'll talk about like the Easter eggs in the movie. Max Dillon's birthday cake being green and yellow, that was great, just like his original costume from the comics, Electro's costume from the comics. His ringtone being the Spider-Man theme, that was really cool. It's not a big deal, but it was really cool. Spider-Man's humor, not really an Easter egg, but, you know, really cool, great jokes he was making. I loved all that. You had the character Felicia in there, obviously meaning Felicia Hardy. You've had Alistair Smythe in there. And they're just little bit parts, but they'll probably be something bigger later on. Sony's actually planning this out, which I really like, because once they actually become relevant, you'll already know who they are, so they won't be coming out of nowhere, and it'll have a nice cohesive, you know, it'll flow nice. It won't feel disconjointed or anything. Not the right word? Whatever. So yeah, all those little Easter eggs were really cool. Stan Lee's cameo, not like his greatest cameo or anything, but it was nice. It's always nice to see Stan Lee in these movies, no matter what he's doing. First one had a way better cameo. I loved his cameo in the first movie. First Amazing Spider-Man. What else? There's probably more. Oh yeah, the guy in the shadows with the hat. I forget his name, but I know that he's the guy who brings the Sinister Six together in the comics. Works for Chameleon or something like that. I know Spider-Man, I know some of the comics, but I'm not well versed in all of it, so forgive me for being, you know, not up to date on all that information. But that's cool. That he's now, you know, introduced and everything. And I guess the last thing I'll talk about is the deleted after credit scene. Apparently, I remember how it goes. You can't watch it, but I believe it goes. The dude with the face covered in shadows. He walks up to a room, a glass thing, and he's talking to Norman Osborn's severed head in like a jar on some Futurama shit, and he basically says, you know, hey, time to wake up, old friend, or whatever. And Norman Osborn's eyes open, or maybe he says something. I have no idea. I like that a lot, and I do not know why they didn't keep that in the movie. I mean, I know that they had to put in that X-Men clip to advertise for them or whatever, but it still could have been at the very end of the credits. It could have cut in at any point. I just think it's very strange that they didn't put that in there, because it shows that Norman Osborn is alive, kinda, I guess. Yeah, the whole severed head in a jar thing, maybe they cut it because they decided it wasn't a good idea, but I don't know. I mean, because this Spider-Man series, people were all talking about how, oh, Spider-Man's trying to be the Dark Knight. Not really. It's really not. It's actually way less grounded than my phone just made noise. You definitely heard it because my phone's right above the camera. What was I saying? Oh yeah, these movies aren't as grounded as Marvel's movies or the Dark Knight movies. They're actually going way out there comic book stuff, but still enough to where it can be taken seriously in a movie. But severed head in a jar, that is surprising. I mean, maybe they cut it because they decided it was too silly or too comic booky, but hopefully they keep that angle because I think it's very unique for a comic book movie to take that kind of angle. What else was there? Yeah, that was the after credit scene, though. Definitely interesting. Didn't actually end up in the movie, so it could mean nothing, but I figured I'd talk about it. What are some individual scenes I liked? All the action with Spider-Man, when he, like I said in the video, my original review, where he would do stuff that no one would even think to do, and he does it in like an instant. He can just see it all. Like, two people are about to touch the handrail that's electrically charged, and they're going to fry themselves. And there's a police car flying towards them. He stops the car and stops them from grabbing the rail, all in the same, like, instant. That's great. The scene at the end that's in the fucking trailer, the last shot of the movie that's in the... I hate the marketing for these movies. I only watched one trailer for this movie. I mean, it's just absurd what they put in the trailers for these Spider-Man movies. The last shot of the movie's in the trailer, and it's when he swings the manhole cover into Rhino, and he like blocks two missiles with it as he's swinging it. I mean, that's so Spider-Man. That's what he would do. That's what he's capable of. Dodging bullets at point blank, catching cop cars. This is Spider-Man. You know, they kind of watered him down in the old movies that I really don't like. From what I've been saying about them, you can see why I don't like them. Not just because they aren't faithful to the comics. I think they're bad on their own, but just, you know, Very, very well done as far as action goes. I loved the scene where he rescued the kid from the bullies, and he's talking about his science project, and he fixes it, and he walks the dude home. I mean, that kind of stuff shows that this movie has genuine heart, genuine emotion. It takes the time to do a scene like that to show Spider-Man, not in a fancy action scene. I said sheen. I really can't talk in this video. I do apologize. Whatever, though. It is what it is. Yeah, just to take the time to show a scene like that is just, I really appreciate that, because it could have all just been, oh, he's badass action, badass one-liners, but no, they showed multiple layers of Spider-Man's character, helping out that kid, fixing his project, and walking him home. That was awesome. I didn't mention Aunt May in my review. Great. Sally Field did a great job. I loved the scene where she was like, you know, she basically says, I'm your parent, pretty much. You know, your dad was never there, your mom was never there, I was there for you this whole time, and I did this for you, and I did that for you. And you can see where it's a little bit selfish, but it comes from a really nice place, and you know he cares for her, and there's this genuine connection between the two that I really like. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so I mean, I'm trying to think of any other specific scenes I really liked. I mean, like I said, all the action. I thought the way they handled Gwen Stacy's death was great. What else? The kid, Aunt May. I guess I could talk about the opening with the parents. It was good. You know, I thought it was really well done for the most part. A little shaky, I guess, but, you know, whatever. They were on a plane. It was really tight space. I mean, it's whatever. It was fine. It was, you know, I didn't expect it to be an opening like that, so, you know, that was cool. Let me think. This is the kind of stuff you'd cut out, but, you know, I don't like to cut my videos that much, so, you know. Is that it? Actually, is that it? That might be all I wanted to talk about. I talked about the action. I talked about the scenes I really liked. I talked about the villains. Peter and Gwen's relationship. It fucking ended in this movie. He kept seeing George Stacy's ghost, which was really nice. That was a nice carryover from the first movie. Again, another criticism of the first movie that, oh, he's such a douchebag character. He made a promise to a dying man, and then he breaks his promise. It's like, no, it's eating away at him, and he's really thinking about not staying with Gwen because it's eating away at him. So, yeah, not a douchebag. Wait for the sequel. This was obviously going to be a film series. Give it a chance before you fucking judge everything about it. I don't know. You know, it's like judging Lord of the Rings, like, oh, that was such an incomplete story. It's like, there's going to be 2 more. I mean, fuck. You know. But that's basically all I had to say about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I still love the movie. I still stand by my review. Like I said, the music isn't that great. You can add that to the review. But it's perfectly serviceable while watching the movie, so I'm not going to be that hard on it. Yeah, everything, just, I'm not going to try and repeat myself too much. I repeat myself a lot sometimes. I just, you know, love the movie. 9.5. My only extra criticism is that the music isn't as good as the previous score, but it's still good music while you're watching the movie. It serves the movie fine as you're watching it. It's not Back to the Future, it's not Lord of the Rings, it's not Star Wars, but it's enough to get you through the movie. It's not distracting or anything. So that's my spoiler-filled talk, discussion, review, thingamajig for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Thanks for watching. Next movie I go see is definitely going to be Godzilla. I don't know about X-Men Days of Future Past because those movies are kind of hit and miss. I'm gonna try to right now record like 3 fucking Adventure Time videos, just so I'm doing those again, because I really, really enjoyed the series, and I want to review every episode all the way through because I started to. And they all have decent amount of views, so I mean, people, I guess, care enough to watch them, I guess. I don't know, I just love reviewing things, so... And making movies, but that's very rare that we're able to do that on this channel, so... Or in general. So yeah, thanks for watching. I stand by my rating of 9.5, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.